All right, so let's dive into this whole TikTok ban thing. It's getting a lot of buzz right now, and it's about way more than just losing some funny videos. We could be talking about like major changes to entertainment, business, even like international relations. To like really get into it, I've got an expert here who can help us see the big picture.
Yeah, it really is fascinating. Like TikTok is so integrated into our lives now,
Yeah.
especially for Gen Z. For a lot of them, it's not just an app, it's like a cultural hub,
Yeah.
like a source of income, a way to be creative and put yourself out there. Banning it wouldn't just be like flipping a switch, it'd be more like pulling a thread that unravels a whole tapestry.
Oh, wow. That's a really good visual. The whole
Yeah.
tapestry unraveling. I think a lot of people think it's just, kids dancing. But
Yeah.
you're saying there's like a real economic side to this
Oh,
too.
absolutely. There's a whole creator economy built on TikTok. People have built businesses on it. Brands use it for marketing. And for a lot of people, it's like the main way to reach younger people. So it's not just entertainment.
Yeah.
It's a platform with its own economic infrastructure.
Okay, so let's say like the ban actually happens. Couldn't those creators just move to like Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts? I mean, those are already pretty popular.
It's not that simple. Like, yeah, those platforms are good at what they do, but they don't have that TikTok algorithm.
So it's not just that those other platforms are worse, it's that they're doing something completely different.
Exactly. Think of it like this. Instagram is great for those like polished visuals, aspirational content. YouTube's great for those longer videos, from those established creators. But TikTok is all about those short, raw videos. The really shareable stuff. Rebuilding your whole presence on a new platform takes a ton of time, a lot of resources, and you have to adapt to a whole new way of doing things. It's not an easy thing to do.
And if those creators struggle, wouldn't businesses feel that? Especially the ones that use TikTok for marketing.
Definitely. Companies have put so much into building a presence on TikTok. They've figured out how to use that algorithm to reach the exact audiences they want. Losing that would be a huge setback for them. It's not just about losing followers. It's about losing a powerful marketing tool, like a direct line to a whole generation of consumers.
That makes me think about the whole tech landscape. If TikTok goes away, isn't that like a huge opportunity for other social media companies?
Oh, for sure. A TikTok ban would create this power vacuum, and everyone would be trying to fill it. We could see a ton of innovation, like Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat. They'd all be adding new features, tweaking their algorithms, doing whatever it takes to get those users and ad dollars.
So it's like a digital gold rush, everyone rushing in to grab what they can.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And it goes beyond just individual platforms. A TikTok ban could change how the government regulates social media. Think about what it could mean for new apps, data privacy, foreign tech companies. It could lead to a whole new wave of scrutiny and regulations.
So we're talking about more than just TikTok. It's about figuring out where the line is
Hmm.
between national security
Yeah.
and letting the internet be a global thing.
Exactly. And it gets even more complicated when you think about geopolitics. TikTok is owned by ByteDance, which is a Chinese company, and things between the US and China are already tense. A ban could make things a lot worse. It could affect trade, tech collaborations, even diplomatic relations.
Ooh, okay. So we've got users, businesses, the whole tech industry. And now we're talking about two global superpowers.
This is way more complex than I thought it would be.
And we're just getting started. We haven't even talked about free speech, the economic impact here in the U.S.,
Mhm.
or what it could mean for innovation in tech. This is a big issue with a lot of consequences.
Yeah, it really highlights how connected everything is. It makes you think about like what makes TikTok so appealing. We were talking about those other platforms trying to be like TikTok, but what is it about their algorithm that's so effective?
Yeah, you said it wasn't just that those other platforms are worse, but that they're doing something totally different. What is it about TikTok that makes it so addictive?
It's a bunch of things. First, their algorithm is seriously smart. It looks at what users do, what they like, even how long they watch a video down to the millisecond. So you end up in this loop where you're constantly seeing stuff that you're interested in. It's like having a personal entertainment concierge, always picking out the perfect content just for you.
So it's not just about recommending videos you might like. It's about making the whole experience feel personalized.
Exactly. And then you have the format itself. Short videos are super easy to watch, perfect for our short attention spans these days. It's all about instant gratification, that little hit of dopamine that keeps you coming back for more.
And we can't forget about all the trends and challenges. TikTok is like a factory for viral content.
That's another huge part of it. TikTok is all about participation and going viral. It encourages people to jump on trends, do their own versions of challenges. It's like a shared cultural experience. And that constant flow of new content keeps things interesting and engaging. That's why their engagement numbers are so high.
It's like a digital campfire where everyone comes together to share stories and experiences.
That's a great way to put it. And that sense of community is really hard to replicate. It's not just the tech, it's the whole culture that's built up around it.
So we've talked about users and businesses, but what about the bigger economic picture? A platform this big has to have a pretty significant impact, right?
Oh, absolutely. TikTok is a major player in the digital economy. We're talking billions in ad revenue, a whole ecosystem of creators making money, and all kinds of supporting industries that have popped up around it. Banning it wouldn't just affect individual users, it would send shockwaves through the entire digital world.
What about jobs? I imagine there are a lot of people whose jobs depend on TikTok, not just the ones making the videos.
You're right. Beyond the creators themselves, you've got all the people who keep the platform running. Developers, marketers, moderators, data analysts, the list goes on. A ban would mean job losses across all kinds of industries. It could affect thousands of workers.
It's a good reminder that there's a lot going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Behind all the memes and dances, there's a whole economic engine.
Exactly. And we can't forget about the human cost of these decisions. These are real people's lives and livelihoods we're talking about.
Okay, so we've covered the impact on users, the implications for businesses, the geopolitical stuff, and the economic fallout. But we talked about free speech earlier. Could you say a bit more about that?
Sure. Some people say that banning TikTok, which is a platform where millions of people express themselves, could be seen as a form of censorship. It raises questions about who gets to decide what's acceptable content and where the line is between national security and free speech in the digital age.
It's a tough question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where do we draw the line between legitimate security concerns and going too far?
Exactly. And it's not just about what content is allowed, it's also about who controls access to information and who gets to shape the conversation. These are big questions that we need to figure out as a society.
So a TikTok ban could really open up a can of worms about the government's role in regulating online spaces.
Absolutely. And this brings us to another important point, the potential impact on innovation. TikTok has been a game changer for social media. It's pushed other platforms to innovate and keep up. A ban could take away that pressure and lead to stagnation in the tech world.
That's an interesting thought. Could you explain how a ban could actually stifle innovation?
Think of it this way. Competition drives innovation. When companies are competing, they have to keep getting better, come up with new ideas, push the boundaries of what's possible. Without TikTok breathing down their necks, those established platforms might not be as motivated to innovate. They could get complacent, focused on staying on top instead of exploring new things.
It's like that saying, a rising tide lifts all boats. TikTok's success has forced the entire industry to step up their game.
Exactly. And a ban could create this vacuum, holding back the creativity and innovation that makes the tech world so exciting.
So while a ban might address some concerns, it could also have unintended consequences, impacting not just individual companies, but the direction of the whole tech industry.
You got it. This is a complicated issue with no easy answers. There are valid concerns about security and data privacy, but we also have to think about free speech, economic stability, and the future of innovation.
It's a tough situation. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. It seems like any decision will have both good and bad outcomes.
And that's why it's so important to have these discussions, to weigh the risks and benefits, and to think about all the possible consequences before we make any big moves.
It reminds us that we can't look at technology in a vacuum. It's all connected to our social, economic, and political systems.
Exactly. Any attempt to regulate technology needs to take all of that into account.
It feels like we're at this turning point, not just with TikTok, but with how we think about technology in general. Are we going to end up with a more fragmented internet where every country has its own rules and maybe limits what people can access? Or can we figure out a way to deal with these complicated issues and still have a global digital world?
That's the big question, isn't it? This whole thing could change how governments deal with foreign tech companies. It raises some fundamental issues about data control, national security, and who has the power in this digital age.
It's like we're watching globalization and technology collide in real time.
Exactly. And what happens here could have ripple effects for years. It could affect trade deals, tech regulations, even how new technologies are developed.
So for everyone listening, what's the big takeaway here? What should we be thinking about as this all plays out?
I think the main thing to remember is This TikTok ban is just a symptom of a much bigger challenge that we're facing in the 21st century. It forces us to really look at how blurred the lines have become between our physical and digital lives, the complexities of a globalized world, and how technology is shaping everything.
It's like a wake-up call. Technology isn't neutral. It's a tool that can be used for good or bad. And it's up to us to decide how it's used. As citizens, as a global community.
We need to be having these conversations, engaging with these tough issues,
Yeah.
and demanding transparency and accountability from both governments and tech companies.
It's about staying informed, asking the right questions, and understanding that the decisions we make now will have a big impact on the world we create in the future.
This isn't just about one app, it's about the future of the internet. Who holds the power in the digital world, and what kind of world we want to live in.
And that's what this deep dive is all about, giving you the information and perspectives you need to navigate this complicated landscape and make informed decisions.
So as this story keeps developing, remember to look beyond the headlines. Consider all the different perspectives, and most importantly, stay engaged.
Because we're shaping the future of the digital world right now, and we all have a part to play.
That's it for our deep dive today. Thanks for joining us.